Morning, all. I am so welcome to day three. We are here. It is day three already. And so I'm going to spend just a couple moments getting myself all situated here. And then we are going to get started. And so, um, I would love to know if you're here. I would love for you to put in the comments, good morning or hi, something along those lines. And I also want to remind you that we have the workbook. If you don't have the workbook, we have that below. And if you do have the workbook, then I encourage you to pull it out and start on day three. And I'm going to still see if I can get it together.
Hi guys, it's 11 o'clock.
Okay. I don't know why I am having issues here, but I am having issues here. So we're gonna just power through because that's what we do. We power through. Okay. Well, I'm not going to get to see your comments at the moment live. I think next time I may end up doing this not on Facebook Live, but on Zoom. I think Zoom's a little bit more interactive, at least currently. Maybe I need a helper to help me with this. Anyway, let's get going. Okay, welcome to day three. It is 11 o'clock on Wednesday morning, and we have gone through 3 days of starting fresh without letting go. And so if you remember all the way back to Monday, which to me feels like a lifetime ago, Monday, we talked about the duality of grief and renewal, sort of what it means to be grieving and yet also looking towards the future, building something in the future. And the big question that we asked that day was, what does it mean to be, what does grief mean to you? How do you define it? And what does it mean for you right now? And then also we talked about what does renewal mean and what does renewal look like? And so then we moved to Tuesday, day two, which was which was your parent, the stories about your parent and how they've informed your life, how they've informed your growing up, how they inform you now, and how they will continue to inform you. But also this sense of legacy of what from their world, what from their life do you want to hold on to? And I talked about my dad and how his major life question was why? And I just love that question. And yet it has been
Tuesday, day two.
it has been very different in me than it was him. So day two, our big question was, what's one way you've already carried your parents' memory into your life today? So we talked about it could be a habit, a favorite saying, a tradition. I sort of chuckled to you all and I said, we have a lot of things that have traveled down, a lot of legacies that have traveled down in recipes, which you can obviously tell. But anyway, so now we're getting to day three. And day three is creating space for grief and joy in the new year. And one of the hardest things about grief is it feels like a constant merging of things that we don't want to merge, where we want to hold on and yet you must let go in order to hold on. And we want to, this sense of we want to not feel pain. We don't want to feel a pain, and yet we want to hold on to those memories. And so there's always this like grief and joy that are sort of coexisting, and those are hard things to coexist together. And in my experience, this is part of the complexity and the hardness about grief, is that it's not just one thing. It's always layered. It's always complex. And even the complexities reveal different facets of themselves. So if you are watching this now with me, or if you are watching this later as a replay, and you feel like grief is a punk fool, yeah, I actually use different words for it. But on the Facebook Live, I thought punk fool would probably be a little bit more of an appropriate word, because it is hard and complex and different for each of us. One of the things we talked about yesterday was how not just that grief is different for each of us, but each grief is different for each of us. So each grief is going to be new. Yes, you might have tools and strategies and books and helpful things, and yet it's still different. So if the grief that you are walking through feels different than any other grief you have walked through, yeah, that's it. And especially when it's a parent. I mean, gosh, these people bore us, formed us, raised us. Their cells went into creating us, many of us. And even if you are here and the person you're grieving was like a parent and wasn't a parent, that's okay too. I mean, they put so much into us, so much love, and yeah, the complexity of that. So let's jump in. So I'm Sally. If it's not clear, I'm Sally, and I am a grief coach. I recently opened a grief coaching business, and that is what this is. And I have found it over the course of the last 15 years a heart for grief ministry. And right now I'm focusing on you all, focusing on women who have had a parent die. And some of that is from my own experience. As you all know, my dad died 10 years ago, which feels like a lifetime ago, and yet it also feels like yesterday. Time sort of begins to mean nothing in the grief world. And yet also, my in-laws both died, one in 21 and one in 23, and that is just a very quick time to have such massive changes in your family. And I had twins. I guess they were 5 and 7 at the time my in-laws died, and it was hard and complex, and yeah. So I've got lots of degrees. I've got lots of pieces of paper that tell me I have the knowledge to do this, but yet I think one of the biggest things that makes me want to do this is I know the pain. I have walked with thousands of individuals who have grieved a loved one. And I sort of, in my mind, I tell myself, if I can ease one moment of one person's grief journey, just one day, like all of this is worth it. So that's why my heart is getting tools and strategies out to you all, and to also give you the option that if you need some hand holding, if you want someone to really walk with you and guide you and hear your story and talk with you and troubleshoot with you, that is what I am here for. So don't hesitate to reach out. But let's jump in it, shall we? Okay. Okay. So think with me for a minute. We've just finished our holiday season. If you've been in if you're in the U.S., you've done Thanksgiving. If you're in Canada, you did Thanksgiving before that. But then we had Christmas, and Christmas is just this big thing. It's busy and it's full. And so the question I have is, what's one small thing that has brought you joy recently? I'd love for you to share it in the chat if you can. I think I can see the chat. And so I'll share that with you. I could say Christmas Day, opening presents, which was really beautiful. But one of the things that truly brought me joy absolute joy was getting to spend a day with some good family friends of ours. And they live 4 blocks down the street from us. Like, they just live so close. And yet we got there about 9 a.m. and spent till about 7 p.m. there. And just the whole day, we did puzzles, we ate, we drank, we had Christmas cookies, we played games. It was just everything. And it was such a beautiful day. It was just everything beautiful. It was calm, it was chill, it was mellow. It had lots of fun. It had serious conversations and meaningful conversations and silly conversations. And when I think about joy, that's what joy is for me. It's not always the mountaintop moments. It's taken me 40 years of my life to realize it's not always the mountaintop moments. It's sort of the moments of steady. So please share with me as you get a moment, what is one small thing that has brought you joy recently? And so if you don't share it in the chat with me, that's okay. But hold it in your mind. Hold it in your mind. Oh, Linda. I can see you. Hi, Linda. Hi, I'm here. My fitness class was canceled. I printed the workbook. Yay! You're like totally on it. Congratulations to you. If I could give you a gold star, I don't have one near me. If I could give you a gold star, I would. So well done. Okay, so we're really going to jump in. So what is one small thing that has recently brought you joy? And so one of the questions that I think is hard is that duality of can grief and joy exist at the same time? Can they coexist? Because it might seem like they're opposites. Like, grief seems like just this really hard, painful time, which seems the antithesis, the exact opposite of joy. And yet, I think, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think they might be something more closer to companions. Hear me out. So feeling one doesn't mean you're betraying the other. Feeling joy doesn't mean you don't feel grief. And feeling grief doesn't mean you don't feel joy. Even though they might feel dissonant, they might feel uncomfortable to work together. They can be companions. So let me know in the chat if that rings true for you. So think of a bittersweet moment. Like I'm in the middle of raising kids. My kids are 8 years old, and I think of these moments where they have these new independences. They can do things by themselves, which is, of course, amazing and wonderful and all the things that I want. And I feel a lot of joy and pride in those moments. And yet, also, it makes me sad. It makes me sad because they are no longer those sweet little babies. And so just even those moments are, sort of fleeting, but very bittersweet. Or maybe you hear a favorite song of one of your parents. That sense of tears and smiling at the same time, like just those moments. Share with me if you have been able, share with me if you have been able to come up with one of those. Let's see. Linda. Hi, Sally. LOL. The Facebook Live is working today. Yay. I did not celebrate the holidays this year. I canceled a planned trip mid-journey and flew home to rescue my dogs from the boarding kennel that broke out with kennel cough. Being with my doggies and just cuddling brought me peace, love, and contentment. I resonate with that, Linda. There's a sense of not being in the hubbub of the festivities, the traveling, the planning, the gifts, the decorating. Being with the dogs, being with our family friends was just peace, love, and contentment. I feel that. Okay. So let's see what we got. So holding both, holding those bittersweet moments, holding those grief and joy moments at the same time. Making space for both of them doesn't diminish one or the other. It actually allows you to honor a fuller range of emotion at the same time. And again, going back to, I think this is one of the things that's so hard about the grief journey is grief kind of forces us to broaden these emotional horizons that we have. Holding both peace, contentment, and love, and also longing for a time that once was, or longing for a future that can't be. Those are hard to hold together. And so there's a way in which making it so that we can hold both at the same time in some ways creates a fuller expression of both of them. So let me know how that sits with you. Like I said, I've walked with so many people, and there's so many hard moments in the grief journey, just in all parts of it. And some moments will be hard forever and ever. And yet, so many people that I've talked to who have, traveled the grief journey for years and years and years, many times end up commenting to me about how the grief journey has allowed their compassion to grow bigger, their empathy, their understanding of their own self and of the world to grow. And in some ways that's really, really beautiful. And no matter what, it's still hard. So if you are feeling that sense of things just don't feel right, they feel uncomfortable, they feel itchy, like I literally feel like there's sandpaper, that's how it feels to my body. If you feel like that right now, that's how you're supposed to feel. And also, it's not going to last forever. So holding both grief and joy at the same time. So when you consciously make space for both grief and joy, you've allowed yourself to more fully experience both. And so this isn't really about fixing grief. Like, joy doesn't fix grief, and grief doesn't squash joy. And we're not just chasing joy for that euphoric feeling. It's about letting them exist at the same time and together. And so, Linda, sorry if I'm the only one commenting, and maybe the Facebook Live is buggy. Yes, you shared that with me in the email, and I don't know what's happening, but here we are, and we are just living with it, and we're just going through. So, but holding grief and joy simultaneously makes me think of my parents meeting at their local airport gate when that was allowed. Oh my God, that sounds like such an amazing story. When I flew in, yes! And also my mother waving goodbye to me from her front window when I would leave. Heartbreaking, but so loving. Yes, just those moments. Those moments. Man, you sharing that story with me, Linda, is making me think of all the times that I was sort of that half awake, half asleep place. And my dad would come and kiss my forehead. And what a beautiful time and moment that was. And I still hold on to it. Like, I can still literally feel that. You can even hear the tears in my voice right now. I feel that. So what it looks like, I think it's exactly what we're talking about. Making space might mean setting aside time to reflect. On Monday, we had a viewer suggest to us that someone had told her to take 30 minutes every day. That was like your grief time to sort of think and reflect and be pensive and emotional and moody and cryy and all of that. And perhaps that is what you are needing. But you and I both know, we all know that there's different times that grief is just going to pop up. And so being able to connect with other people, That's one of the reasons why I love this Facebook group, is just being able to connect with others and read each other's stories and know you're not the only one. Um, Grief just likes to tell us that we are alone in the world, and we are not. And so being able to connect with some supportive people, and even finding moments of gratitude in the hard days. One of the things that I've shared is I've started a practice, and it did not start early in my grief journey. It started about 2 years ago, so 8 years into my grief journey with my dad. And I started expressing gratitude to him for these little moments throughout a day that I think of him, or that sort of a quirk of his pops up, and I just, say, thank you, Dad, and try to express that as a gratitude. Um, and that, I have found that to be helpful. So if you're not able to do that today, no worries. You got 8 years to beat me. So yeah, you got this. Okay, so let's see what else. Yep, Linda, I think you're the only one commenting today. So if Facebook is buggy for the rest of you, just keep commenting and I will connect with each of you all. So as I started off, one of my goals in this work is to get you tools and strategies and to create a space for you to be able to process grief that is healthy and helpful and moving in the right direction. I think the hardest place to be in life is when you're stuck in the grief journey. And sometimes you might be going slow, taking one tiny little step at a time. That's okay, that's still progressing. But if you are finding yourself stuck and you really want someone to be reaching out to you regularly, kind of helping you, problem solving with you, listening to these really beautiful stories, that is what I am here for. And so I am offering what I'm calling I don't even know what I'm calling it. Look at me. Focused growth program. Why couldn't I remember that? The focused growth program, and it's two one-on-one 60-minute coaching sessions a month, and as well as a really in-depth intake session and regular assessments about every 4 months, where we will work together and you and I get to create a path forward for you, and we get to check in with each other on a regular basis. And so if this is something that sounds like something you need, put focused growth in the chat and I will reach out to you and we will talk through what that might look like for you. And so as we begin to sort of close out today's session, I want to ask us a question. So what is one way that you can create space for both grief and joy in your life this week? And I kind of want to ask for the whole year because we're sort of setting up the whole year. But I know better than that, because for me, a year is just too much to think about. But this week, how can you do it this week? That sense of holding both grief and joy. And so, Linda, your beautiful story about remembering your mom waving out the front window, or when your parents would meet you at the airport gate, and these memories that are, of course, longings for time past and sadness that they can't come around again, and also these really beautiful moments of affection and love. And so what is one way you can create space to do that this week? So I'd love for you to write it in the chat if you can. But more than that, I would like for you to write it down. Write it down because you are more likely to do that thing if you write it down. It seems so simple. And yet study after study shows us that if we write it down, we're more likely to do it. So what is one way you can create space for both grief and joy this week? So, Are there any questions? And like I've said the last couple of days, I've got some time on here. And so if you are on here, I think it might just be you and me at this moment, Linda. If you are on here and you have questions that you want to ask me, now is that time. And if you are watching this on replay and you also have questions that you want to ask me, it's sort of an ask me anything moment. Just put it in the chat. Put it in the comments. I will reach out to you and answer those questions. And just to let you know, I have done this a long time. I have quite a few degrees behind my name, and can give you statistics and can give you books and can give you all of those academic things. And yet also my heart is in walking through these grief journeys with you. It is always an honor to get to hear your stories and get to hear about your loved ones. These are truly beautiful moments in life, even though they're so hard. So, with that, I am gonna... Oh, Linda. Linda, I like your idea of telling my folks I'm grateful when I think of a memory of them. I can just pause and close my eyes, and if the tears come, they come. Right! And it doesn't have to be a big thing. But I also want to thank my parents for their love that I did not appreciate nearly enough. Yes. Yeah. Some of me even remembering these moments of affection that of my dad is sort of going, I didn't recognize it in the moment. I didn't recognize it enough. And that also makes me sad. I also feel sad about that. But so I love that. Okay. This 3-day journey has truly been an honor, and it is such an honor for me that you've shown up, that you have watched the replays, that you have asked questions and engaged. This is what I'm here for. This is my mission in life right now. And I am here. You know how to connect with me on the Facebook group and email me and all those things. And so just sending you lots of love and hugs in this New Year's season. And also, just to sort of drop it in there, I am doing a workshop next week, next Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time, and rebuilding, what is the title of it? Rebuilding Your Life After Loss is what I have named it. And so if that is interesting to you, just put rebuilding in the comments. Totally free. It's a totally free workshop. Put rebuild in the comments and I will get that information to you so that we can get you all signed up. So with that, I'm truly signing off this time. Okay, Linda, I'll reach out to you and I will see you all later. Okay. Have a wonderful day.